Hello and welcome. I am Ladi Akiridoluale. Tonight, President Buhari defends integrity of Nigeria and Nigerians abroad in the face of criminal allegations, insists a few culprits do not represent the identity of all Nigerians, as he lures more foreign investors in Japan and Europe for investment. Angry Nigerian protesters stormed country's embassy in Pretoria to demand end to incessant killing of their countrymen and attacks on Nigerian businesses in South Africa. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission set to appeal court ruling equating aid to former President Goodluck Jonathan of alleged 1.6 billion naira in fraud charges. An extremely dangerous storm, Hurricane Dorian, heads towards the U.S. mainland. As fear heightens, it could be a Category 4 by the time it reaches there.
On Business News tonight, African Development Bank puts the size of trade within the African Continental Free Trade Area at $3.3 trillion.
On Sports News tonight, Liverpool FC defender Virgil van Dijk edges out Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo to emerge UEFA Men's Player of the Year for the 2018-2019 season.
And from Abuja, bandits kill Catholic priest in Takum local government area of Taraba State as clashes between Tiv and Jukuni militia gets more intense.
The president is making inroads into increasing investments in the country by assuring the international community that his administration will remove all impediments to private sector participation in the economy. President Muhammadu Buhari gave this assurance at the ongoing conference on Africa development in Japan, where he promised to launch the Japan-Nigeria Business Facilitation Council when he returns to Abuja. Our correspondent, Ibrahim Adra, reports from Yokohama.
It is my pleasure to address this forum.
President Muhammadu Buhari held the attention of all at the third plenary as he delivers his speech. He focused on wooing Japanese and international investors to Nigeria.
Our government is implementing homegrown and private sector-driven economic measures that are predicated on good governance, infrastructure, and human capital development, as well as business climate reform. We therefore invite the private sector to come and invest in Nigeria.
On behalf of his government, he gave this assurance.
We are committed to removing all impediments to private sector participation in these sectors by creating policies that will ensure consistency, predictability, and a level playing field for all.
The day's itinerary included a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
Mr. President, talked about the challenges that Nigeria is facing, the terrorist challenges, the support of Japan through the UN with the humanitarian challenges that we have.
Governors of the president's delegation believe the conference has been fruitful.
So it seeks into the objective of Mr. President. It also seeks, with the growth that we are aspiring in Lagos. So it just means that we can harness all the contact, all the opportunities that are available, right, and take them back home and be able to say to our people, our thoughts are also part of the global thoughts.
Most of the aid from these organizations here from Japan have been going to East Africa. And it's because of the attitude from West Africa. We're not proactive, we're not coming out, we're not being aggressive. You can't just sit at home and expect people to be throwing money at you. You have to show interest that you're interested in aid, you want to work with the Japanese companies.
Next, President Buhari received an official of the European Union. A memorandum of understanding was signed. The EU is promising additional assistance.
They're increasing this by 50 million to 562 million euros, actually. And of course, Mr. President welcomed this. And the large part of this monies will be devoted to the northeast.
This ties with the expectation of Governor of Borno State.
We are trying to address some of the root causes of the insurgency. And that is why we are looking for support from the Japanese government in terms of creating jobs, especially in the areas of technical and vocational education.
Ticket 7 enters its last day tomorrow, with more engagements lined up for President Muhammadu Buhari and his delegation. From Yokohama, Japan, Ibrahim Adra, reporting for Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the president has also been defending the country's integrity abroad, insisting that the criminal activities of a few Nigerians do not represent the values of the majority of the people of the country. He was speaking in Yokohama at a meeting with leaders of the Nigerian community living in the country on the sidelines of Ticket 7. Our correspondent, Ibrahim Adra, again reports.
President Buhari has done this during most of his foreign trips, engaging Nigerians living there.
Welcome the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
At this interaction are representatives of business and professional groups living in Japan.
As an investor businessman who is ruled by figures, and as a detribalized Nigerian who believes in oneness and unity, I have deliberately chosen to ask, what will I do for Nigeria, instead of what Nigeria will do for me.
They are leaders of NIDO Asia, Nigeria-Japan Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and Nigeria Union in Japan. They commend the president's effort in steering the nation, but ask for opportunities to contribute to Nigeria.
Senior Governor,
the president says he is impressed by their impact.
We have continually been a positive bridge between Nigeria and the world. It is not an easy feat, and we commend you, salute your courage.
For those Nigerians who engage in criminal activities, President Buhari makes an appeal.
There are a few Nigerians in diaspora that are given as a bad name by engaging in criminal activities. These Nigerians are a minority. They do not represent the values of our country, and I plead with them to change their ways. We will not condone any crime, whether at home or abroad, and we will also not allow these Nigerians define us as a people with reputation for criminality.
The government has in place plans to harness the potential of her citizens in diaspora.
And it's also encouraging that we have Nigerians here that are at the cutting edge of technology. Here in Japan, producing apps, doing things with waste to wealth and all that, recycling for power generation. So the key thing is how do you use this knowledge for positivity?
There are reportedly over 17 million Nigerians in diaspora. From Yokohama, Japan, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Still outside Nigeria, but this time in South Africa, where a group of Nigerians today staged a violent protest at the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria. Their rage is in connection with Wednesday's massive attacks and looting of shops owned by foreigners in the city by some South Africans who were apparently angered by the killing of a taxi operator by a yet-to-be-identified man on Tuesday. Police say 17 people have been arrested after the looting spree, but the Nigerians, who are equally angry, besieged the High Commission and allegedly destroyed the gate of the mission. Our South African Bureau Chief, Betty Divya, reports.
This was the scene in Pretoria's Central Business District on Wednesday. The death of a taxi driver who was shot while allegedly confronting a drug dealer triggered the situation.
We know them. Some they say is a Tanzanian, some they say is a Nigerian. We don't know how to differentiate them. But what do you know are those guys who are selling drugs in Nyaupe, and they're killing our siblings now. We are sick and tired about those guys.
That's where now you can see the damage caused here, because people felt aggrieved. And then they resorted to this. But now, as it happened here, it's not the taxi industry. Let me put it straight.
South African citizens went on rampage, burning and looting shops belonging to foreign nationals, including Nigerians.
He came to my shop and burned everything to zero. I don't know where to start.
We are appealing to our government via the consulate, our High Commission here, to please interfere in this whole situation. Nobody is attending to us. We are so unsafe in this country.
You are destroying what is supposed to protect you. Then where are you going to run to?
9 a.m. Thursday, many Nigerians who claim to have been affected by the attacks vented their frustration on the Nigerian High Commission premises.
According to them, against the ineptitude or the slow action of the representatives here at the High Commission. And the way they went about it was quite unfortunate because they scaled the fence, they almost destroyed the gate, they vandalized the electronics of the second gate, jumped over the other fence until my men were able to speak to them to stop it. They were almost at the point of destroying the glasses of the vehicles.
The Nigerian High Commission officials also visited the scenes of destruction and had to be rushed out because of safety concerns. The acting High Commissioner Omar Bako reassured those who came to complain of their losses.
What we can assure you all is that we've already stepped into the matter. We're taking action already that you may not know, but it may appear slow to you all, but certainly it's going to be effective. We will continue to do what we're supposed to do.
Meanwhile, the police continues to monitor the situation in the business district to keep the peace. Government and many interest groups have condemned the violence, and 17 people arrested for public violence will hopefully be arraigned soon. From Pretoria, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Back here in Nigeria, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, says it will appeal the court ruling that discharged and acquitted an aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Dr. Waripamo Owe-Dudafa, of an alleged 1.6 billion naira fraud charge. Justice Mohammed Idris, in a 190-page judgment, had ruled that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission failed to prove any of the 22 counts beyond reasonable doubt against Mr. Owe-Dudafa and a Heritage Bank staff, Joseph Iwejo. Justice Idris held that the EFCC's case was based on suspicion, which cannot take the place of legal evidence. The judge also pointed out that the EFCC failed to call vital witnesses like former President Jonathan, former NSA Sambo Dasuki, and even the CBN governor, and such failure was fatal to the EFCC's case. Mr. Dudafa and the counsel to the EFCC both reacted to the court judgment.
It's been a tortuous journey. It wasn't easy at all. I relied solely on God. I submitted absolutely to His will, and His will has prevailed. I thank God. I knew He would show mercy. He has had mercy upon me and my family. By the way, I'm a better person for my wife and my children. I've also thanked the prosecution. I told him that no enemies to fight.
We have actually applied for the judgment, and my Lord had said that the judgment will be ready for collection. So I believe that there are grants upon which we are going to seek further redress. But we will study it holistically, and then so that we are going to give a formidable grounds upon which we will be urging the Court of Appeal to also reconsider the findings of the trial court. So I know that criminal prosecution, it is very, very clear that you are not meant to prove criminal proceedings or an allegation of crime beyond all shadow of doubt. So you are expected to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
In part two, after the break, on Easy Calm, as Lagos residents prepare for tough days ahead of 4 months major rehabilitation work on the Berger axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Stay with us.